believe we are live.
Yeah.
So, Carrie, what is the latest trick you have taught your puppy?
Oh, so yesterday we conquered high five. So it's so cute because his front legs are so short. He's like,
He doesn't fall over when he does it.
no. But I'm super impressed. He's a smart little guy and he's so fun to work with. And he's probably getting tired of eating his meal one kibble at a time because I don't let him just eat out of a bowl. I've been training him the whole time. So
Well,
if he's
Frenchies, they kind of devour food, don't they?
yeah,
Aren't they
yeah,
known
they're
for that?
pretty
Yeah.
fast eaters. So it's better this way anyway. It's just he doesn't think so. And I suppose if I were really hungry, I wouldn't want somebody to just give me one little morsel at a time.
Well, looks like we got a couple people joining us. So if you could please write in the chat. Oh, look, Mikey's on top of it. She already knows the deal.
She's like, hey, I'm here.
And let us know where you're from too, because I want to get back to knowing where everybody's from because I get a kick out of it. So just for my own pleasure, let me know where you're located.
Mikey's in Idaho, so
Okay, you know that, yeah.
yeah.
So I'll just introduce ourselves. We are the Dog Gurus. If you're unfamiliar with the Dog Gurus, we help pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit, as well as offer business consulting services and staff training programs so you and your staff can provide the highest quality care for the pets that you serve. We also have a lot of other great stuff. There's always something good going on. So check out our website, and that is doggurus.com. And I can go ahead and put this in the chat too, because now I know how to do it. So
And Jody says hello from Saskatchewan, Canada.
All right, our friends up north. Okay, so I'll let you also know that there still is a few spots left for the Sustainable Staffing Masterclass. If you want to stop spending thousands on pet care staff that just leave within a couple of months and end the exhausting hamster wheel of firing and hiring, then join our class. This will help you. You'll get expert guidance and actionable strategies that will attract people who fit your company's missions and values. And when you have staff that are aligned with those two things, they will be engaged staff. Plus, it will help get those payroll dollars back in control. So go ahead and I'll go ahead and put this up on the page too. If you're interested, we still have a few spots left for that. Okay. And I will also tell you that next week, we are going to be taking a break because it's a masterclass. So Carrie is one of the
teachers. So many places at once, right?
Exactly. Carrie is one of the teachers, and I'm just going to take the opportunity to, catch up on some of my own work, but we're going to take next week off from broadcasting, but we will be back the following week. And it's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to have a bunch of Profit Network coaches join us, and it's just going to be a great time. We're going to talk about our experiences and what strengths we have as coaches, and it'll just be a lot of fun. You won't want to miss that one.
We're a fun group when we're together.
Yeah, we are. Okay, I'll go ahead and take that off. And then we'll get into today's topic. So today's topic is about how to avoid burnout. So that, I guess maybe we should start out. And you know what? Oh, before I go on to what is the symptoms of burnout, I'll let you know in my research, it says it's often known as high achievers sickness. I thought that was funny.
Because most entrepreneurs are high achievers.
Right? Sarah says hello from Little Traverse Bay Humane Society, boarding, grooming, and daycare in Harbor Springs, Michigan. Hello, Sarah. Welcome.
Way up north. Well, way up north, but the northern states.
Yeah. But okay, so let's talk about this burnout or high achievers sickness. Now, there is a few symptoms that I can go through and read through, but I think naturally entrepreneurs, I was like, check. When I was running a business, I'm thinking check, a lot of these things. So like, are you working long hours? I was constantly working 12 hours a day, if not more. Do you feel overwhelmed? I remember sometimes going into my one-on-one sessions with Carrie, and I'd be like, I feel like I can barely breathe. There's so much going on. Or do you feel like you're running on empty? Are you neglecting your own well-being? These are all signs of burnout. Another one is, have you lost sight of what's important? that's maybe you're letting things slip through the cracks a little bit with quality care or cleaning or something like that. Those are all signs of burnout. So we definitely don't want that to happen to you, and we want you to take care of themselves. So, self-care is very, very important. And I know Carrie is especially she passionate about this because she has a story that she can share with you if you want to share this story.
Oh, this is a good one.
Made you, huh?
Way to not take care of yourself and literally drive yourself off the road. So
Yeah, but we can start talking about that, but really self-care, this is what it's going to be. We're going to give you practical strategies and little steps that you can take to help make sure that you take care of yourself because it's important. So why don't you get us started, Carrie?
So I think first of all, when we look at avoiding burnout, you need to talk about the steps that you can take to organize yourself, to look at what your workload is, to see what you have to do to work on the business versus in the business. And then discovering what is your genius zone. What's the best time of the day that you are most effective? And if you are a member of Growth Intensive or our Profit Network programs, we have a training course called Plan, Produce, and Play, which really helps you walk through these steps to identify, what is the most effective time of day? How do you organize your workflow? How can you really make that process as smooth and simple as possible? So, what are the tools that work best for you? Some people are very, checklist oriented, and other people have, journals that they write in or habit trackers. I mean, there's so many different tools that are out there. It's really identifying what works best for you. And then once you've identified that, really handling your time management. So if that's calendar blocking and setting some times aside where I'm going to work 1 hour doing this particular task and then it's done. Or if it's something where it's a recurring thing, you have to take 30 minutes once a day or an hour a week, whatever that is. It's making sure that you're managing that time so that you can be most effective. The more organized and the more kind of automated you are as far as how you do these tasks, the more routine it's going to become, and it's not going to feel like, oh my God, I have to get that done. And it's just like this burden that's sitting on your shoulders. And that stress just kind of creates a whole ripple effect. So when you start those different pressures on you, then you can get into bad sleeping habits. You can eat too much. I mean, I think a lot of people, the whole pandemic of trying to keep your business open, people gained weight. There was a lot of fatigue. We weren't exercising as much. So all of those things really start to snowball into that overall kind of sense of burnout. And then just going, how do you produce? So if you planned all your method, then how are you producing that? So are you creating those healthy habits? Do you have a routine in the morning? And I think that's really vital. Shanti, I know you love yoga. And so, if you're a yoga person, is that something where you can do some meditation or breathing first thing in the morning? There's a lot of research that shows that, really highly effective individuals are people who take that time, 10, 15 minutes in the morning to meditate and just kind of get a center or get themselves focused so they can do the tasks that are at hand for the day. And then the other thing too is just really setting boundaries. So maybe that's boundaries with your family, maybe that's boundaries with your staff, but knowing that there are going to be certain times that you have to focus on yourself, on the business, on your family life, at all of that. And so, how are you going to set and create those boundaries so that you're able to take care of yourself? Because, my mom used to always say this when I was a kid, but, you can't take care of anybody else until you take care of yourself first. And darn it if she wasn't right. So, how can you kind of prioritize all of that and set those boundaries so that you're going to be able to accomplish what you need to? And then reward yourself, set some goals, really talk about, what can I do in this situation that if I can get these 3 things done, I'm going to take an afternoon off and go get a massage, or I'm going to actually plan a vacation that I haven't taken in 7 years that I've owned this business. So, just kind of setting some things where you're not only taking that time to kind of relax and recharge and have some fun, but make those goals maybe bigger and bigger each time. So, the first time may just be, I haven't had a day off in how long, so setting that up or looking at, how can you maybe schedule some time with your spouse or significant other that you're able to go out and do something together that you haven't done in a long time. And then it's making a conscious effort not to talk about the business when you're doing it.
I'm not good at that, but so you gave a lot of great tips, a lot of good information. So I just want to go back and review some of them So let's talk about the practical self-care techniques that you can start doing. One thing that I try to do is when I first wake up, instead of looking at my email or looking, at social media, I put on a podcast that is something positive for me to feel good about. It's usually like, something or an affirmation or a meditation. But what my point is basically start your day with something that makes you feel good. So that means do not watch the news first thing in the morning.
Absolutely.
We do not need to get more stressed out as business owners, but start your day on a positive. The other thing that I think you mentioned in here is mindful eating. You know, instead of a lot of sugar or something like that, like do something that's going to be really healthy for your body and make you feel good and not have a crash. Um, Schedule yourself breaks throughout the day. I think that's really important. If I didn't schedule myself lunch, and that is like, this is something that I have to do actually now, even when I'm working outside of my business. If I don't schedule myself lunch, the whole day will go by and I'll be like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock and I haven't even eaten yet. So, because I'm somebody that's when I'm stressed out, I don't eat. I like, I'm not one of those people that rewards. Like I feel like eating is a reward, and so I kind of make myself suffer. I think when I'm stressed out, but so schedule yourself breaks even throughout the day at work. If you can give yourself a 5-minute walk around the block and just step away outside of the business.
Yeah, movement is key.
Yeah, movement. That is really good. I think Tony Robbins actually talks about how just doing that physical activity actually resets your mind. It does a mind reset where it kind of refreshes yourself so you can start to see clearer and have more clarity on what you're trying to achieve. And then
Let me interject something really quick
yeah,
there. Okay, so talking about meditation, mindfulness, all of that, one of the things that's, scientifically recharges our nervous system is taking really deep breaths. So people who do meditate are very focused on their breathing, but sometimes just literally taking a pause to take a really deep inhale and exhale can really reset the body. So if you take that 5 minutes to, like you said, just, walk around the block, walk around the building, doing something like that, and just focus on breathing, it's some way that you can just kind of let negative energy out, if you will, and focus on bringing more, fresh, clean air, which is kind of new ideas, and it just kind of rejuvenates you overall. So,
and if you're somebody that doesn't, yoga or meditation is not your thing, well then check out Wim Hof, because he is like a military guy and he talks about these practices in a different way that's maybe a little bit more masculine or just not for the yoga people, but he talks about that square breathing, and that square breathing is the 4-4. So you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, and if you just do that 3 times, I guarantee you're going to feel better if you're really stressed out. So
that's a great suggestion.
yeah. And lastly, what I'll say is for self-care techniques is celebrate your achievements.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Take time to smell the roses,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you've worked really hard, even if it's a small win, try at the end of your day when you're driving home, try to focus on that one win for the day. Even if it's just the smallest thing, it will make you feel a lot better. So all right. So the next thing we'll kind of go over and review from what you said is time management hacks.
Mhm.
So I think you mentioned prioritizing your tasks.
Yep. Having a good understanding of what your kind of genius zone is, if you will, or that time of day that works well for you, and then coming up with some sort of mechanism to organize your workflow. So what is that, a paper checklist, calendar, how can you look at ways that organizationally you will have a stronger schedule throughout the day that you can stick to. And then that just goes to kind of that blocking so that you're managing your time well, and knowing, that it's, some people are very calendar focused, or maybe you're checklist focused. So have on your checklist 30 minutes of, emails, 30 minutes of this. And, I used to kid because Robin was such a checklist person. And I would tell her the first thing that's on my checklist in the morning is write a checklist. And then it would be make coffee, just so that, before I was thoroughly awake after having my first cup of coffee, I could just check.
I get great satisfaction after doing a checkbox. I mean, that makes me really happy. So I do the same thing. I'll write something that I've already done, or that's an easy one that I could just immediately check off. One of the other things that I would say if for time management hacks is switch off your social media notifications
Oh yes, definitely.
because I can get distracted. I'm like a golden retriever with that stuff. You know, a social media notification will come in and I'll be like, what? What's that? So turn that stuff off. I would say go through all your apps and only keep notifications on what is truly necessary. But everything else, toggle that to the left and turn it off. Okay, we do not need to know when so and so posted a picture of their dessert that they made last night. Okay, that's not important. So the other thing is clean your environment. Make sure your environment's clutter free and easy to work in. Because if you're disorganized and there's papers everywhere and you're spending a lot of your time finding things before you can start working, and that goes for your computer too. If your computer desktop has a million documents on the front, you know, take an hour, clean up your computer, make it more organized. You're going to feel a ton better and it'll save you time.
Have a really beautiful picture, whether it's someplace you want to go or if it's your favorite dog, have something on the background so that when you look at your computer screen, it's something that's inspirational
Oh, I
and
like that.
not just a
Yeah.
bunch of icons,
I would always put the next place that I want to go travel to. So, you know, which I'm trying to decide what I want to do, but I'm thinking I might go to Croatia. I don't know. Anyways, side note. But
See, I want to go to Santorini. I want to go to the Greek islands or Crete, somewhere there. I just think it
it
looks so
was
beautiful. So
it was
that's what
beautiful.
Santorini right now, those cave homes, that's what my background is. So
Awesome. Well, I went last summer and it was awesome and best food ever. I mean, Greece had wonderful food. So, anyways, we're going off on a tangent here. And then you said, learn to say no, right? I think, or did you say that one, or did we talk about this last week? But learn to say no. And it's okay to say no. You do not have to commit yourself to everything. But there's
boundaries. So
yeah, that's it. Setting good boundaries. So those are some of the time management hacks that I think everybody can at least incorporate one or two of those things into their daily life, and it would help tremendously. And then, oh, go on.
I was just saying, tying into that is just delegating
Yeah.
tasks. Because if it's not a job an owner should do, delegate it. If it's not something that you're really good at, delegate it. Even if it's something you enjoy and you like the satisfaction at the end, but it takes you way too long because you're really not proficient, delegate it. If it's not important or if it's not urgent, delegate it. So there's a lot of things that you can do that will get other tasks off your plate and kind of open up your schedule to the things you really need to work on.
Susan had us at one of our workshops. Susan had us write down a list of all the things that you do on a weekly basis. And once we wrote that whole list down, she said, okay, now what can you give to somebody else to do? So I think that's a really great way to start with delegating. Like, do you have to absolutely be doing everything? I don't think so. I bet you can take 50, 70% of your list and teach it to somebody else. It might take a little bit of time. They might not do it perfect at first, but you definitely can get them trained up and have them done the way that you want it. So
and tying that into the whole staffing thing that everyone's going through, not only does that free up time for you, but it also delegates to somebody and empowers them to be more kind of feel a sense of ownership in the business, that they have some more responsibility that they didn't have, right before you assign this to them. So it's giving them an opportunity to shine in a new way.
Yeah, it can really do a lot for your team. The other thing is, look, outsource. If you don't have to be doing something, maybe there's a task that you're struggling at and you're kind of have a roadblock and you're stuck, outsource it. Find somebody else that can do it for you. And of course, have good systems in place. If you have good systems in place, you will not need to micromanage. That is the key. Because I just got off a call with a client and they're still struggling with getting all their systems written down. And unfortunately, what's happening is that the manager is micromanaging. And I said, well, if you had it all written down, you wouldn't have to micromanage because they would know what to do. And when you're creating your systems, you want to look at it this way. You want to write it in a way that somebody on day one, you can hand them a task, like let's say, clean a kennel. You can hand them a task of that, and they know exactly how you want to do it and what your expectations of clean are. So I instructed my client, look, write out your expectations of the duty and then write the instructions and blend the two. So if it means like, okay, mopping the floor, then that means it's free of dog hair, right? That means it's clean. It's not just mopping the floor. It's mopping the floor free of dog hair. If it's cleaning the windows, that means cleaning the windows and making sure there's no streaks or smudges on the window.
Or nose prints.
Yeah, or if a kennel is clean, that means it smells clean. It does not smell like any type of fecal matter or wet dog or anything like that. So when you're writing these instructions or these duties list or these systems, make sure that you write out what your expectations are, and then they'll actually get it done right. So, and I guess lastly would be just trust and empower, like Carrie was saying.
Yeah.
Let your staff shine, let them blossom, let them grow. That will do a lot for you. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell, the three things that they can really, main things that they can do to help with self-care. Any other things we want to mention in there?
I did a presentation, I can't remember where it was, maybe it was Florida last year, on self-care. And we created this kind of self-care assessment form. And we were talking about kind of general physical health, emotional health, mental health, relationship health, healthy choices, and spiritual health. And each one of the questions was, answer on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being, yeah, I do this. 1 being, oh, I've never even thought about this. And I love some of them. It's like, eat nutritious food. Yes or no? Practice daily relaxation, play without guilt. How many times have you sat down with your family to watch a movie and in your brain you're thinking about all the things you need to do and you're not really enjoying that time with your family? How much water are you intaking? On the emotional health, are you actually expressing your feelings? So do you feel a part of your family when you're present with them? Are you like really present with them? So, just kind of going through and assessing all of that gave people kind of a score of where they're at with their self-care, and then, things that they can do to really improve that. And I think a lot of that we covered about, eating healthily and making sure that you're taking time for yourself. You were talking about I know, for when you were talking about the 4 breathing, that reminds me of the first time somebody was trying to teach me to meditate, and my brain was just like, squirrel. I just felt like I was never focused. But then they were like, if you realize that in the moment and you can go back to, oh, here I am present, that's the whole part of it, is just catching yourself. You start drifting off, and being able to actually spend some time focused on your breath and just relaxing and keeping that focus there. Pretty soon you can go a lot longer than a minute or 30 seconds. So
absolutely. And look, if you are needing some help with these processes that we're talking about and want to really gain the life that you deserve and fall back in love with your business again, we help people all the time with our program called Profit Network. So Profit Network, it is an app. We do have to be invited to come in. So there is an application process. But when we talk about how we meet with our clients all the time, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this program. So we help businesses all the time exceed $1 million of revenue. That's a huge milestone for a lot of our clients, which they do. We have them help them know their numbers. So if you're somebody that's questioning on whether you have the right pricing, or maybe you're busier than ever, but you still don't understand why your profit margins are low, well, that's something we can help you with. We can help you understand your numbers and really get your numbers working for you. And we can help you with building a leadership team so you actually can have a life again. So that's how it's all tying in together with the Profit Network. So that is open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat because I accidentally erased it off my little screen thing. And if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and go to the application process and apply. It's a short, quick application, asks a few short questions. And then, we'll get back to you and have a nice little consultation. We do try to match up coaches based on your specific needs. So it's not a cookie cutter program. It's actually something that is designed from Susan Briggs and Robin Bennett. They are leaders in the pet care industry. but we will match you up with a coach that's specific for your needs. Like a lot of times, if the clients are looking to build their business up for an exit strategy, I will get those clients because that is something that I'm familiar with and have been successful at. So Carrie has a lot of great, I think she checks all the boxes for her specialties, but
But enrichment daycare is my passion, teaching people how to have an enrichment program. I think too, people who are looking to like add or grow a retail store, that's something that Ed has a ton of experience. So there's a variety. We have so many clients that are so many coaches that have varied backgrounds. And the one thing to note too is that we all go through the same training. So even though my personal business never had lodging, it doesn't mean that I am not familiar with how lodging is run in a business and how to, price that kind of structure, how to make changes to make your systems more efficient. We all go through that same training.
Absolutely. I mean, all of the coaches either currently operate a pet care business or they have successfully owned it and built it to over $1 million in revenue. So I think we know a little bit of what we're talking about. So. All right.
We didn't.
Yeah. And last that I'll say is if you haven't joined our Grow Your Pet Care Business Facebook group, please do so. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat. We just have 2 rules. Everybody be nice and no selling. Okay. And I think I covered all my bases.
Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask of us before we jump off for the day? Any self-care issues? Of course, I say that, and then you have to wait for somebody to type and hit enter.
Yeah. Well, it's busy time of year, so we know how easy it is to just be constantly on the go. It's August, and we're winding down the summer, and I'm sure everybody's just been full with dogs, with clients, with staff, everything. All right, everybody, we'll let you go, let you get back at it. Thanks for joining us. We won't see you next week, but we'll see you the following week. So have a great time out there.
Thanks. Have a good day.